In this video, I would like to introduce a practical tool for developing character and virtue. This is an online tool that is freely available across the world and that you can use in a number of contexts. This can be used in a formal theological school as part of a formation program. It can also be used in non-formal contexts. It can be used in discipleship groups. It can be used in a church context. It can also be used individually for someone who simply wants to work on her own or on his own to develop character and virtue. So I'll be sharing this website. So it is a tool that is available online, and the link here is www.virtueeducation.net. So all attached to virtueeducation.net. And you could also see that this site is available in different languages. And if you click on the language switcher on the bottom here, you can see that at the moment it is available in 5 different languages, and hopefully this would expand to other languages as well. And this allows you, with a click of the switch, to very quickly, so here for example, let me just show you, if I click on that, the site has now switched into Hebrew. But we will go back to English, as that is the language I am familiar with. So the site has 4 main parts. It is actually a project, so it's not a website. It's actually meant to be used as a tool. There's an envision stage, there's a test stage, there's a habituate stage, and then finally there's a reflection stage. This is meant to be a project that lasts several months. So there are some parts that you can go through quite quickly, other parts that will take more time. If you actually go into the menu section, into the additional resources, there's actually a group leader guide that you could look at, and that actually gives some general suggestions, but then it gives a 30-week program of different weeks and different ideas of how you can actually work through this particular site with a group. And it's flexible. It can be used in different ways, in different contexts, and you will find that in the site as well. So let me just show you very briefly the 4 parts. So in the Envision section, here, this part of the website is simply, there's different parts. There's a start here where there's some theoretical introduction to what character and virtue is, why virtue and character. So for example, if you go into these sections, you will simply see some text, some explanation, perhaps some further links to understand. So this part is a little more theoretical, but this is actually meant for those that are participating in the project to go through and read these things, or the group leader can actually maybe explain them. So it can be used in a number of ways. It works as a resource. In the Envision, there's also a section on exploring the roots. So what are some of the theoretical and the traditional foundations? There's also biblical grounding. There are some ideas here on how to go to Scripture. There's more ideas on that. If you go into the menu, again, in the additional resources, there's a section called Virtue in the Bible. And here there are some ideas of how to develop further biblical thinking around character and virtue. So again, that's in the Envision stage, exploring the roots. Then there's a commitment moment where we ask those that are participating in the project to actually commit to working on character and virtue in their own life. So the second part then from the Envision, and I'll just use the side menu here, is the test. So you can see Envision, test, habituate, reflect. So the test section, this is a very practical section, and what happens here is there's actually a test that participants can take. It is a virtue test. There's a section here on preparing for the test. This will explain what the test is and how it works. And then here in 2.2, there is actually a test which is similar to a personality test. And there's 100 questions that will enable participants to self-assess themselves against a list of 15 different virtues. And at the end, there will be a grid, a graph that will show you the virtues where you are strong in and the ones where you are weaker And so that gives an idea, a self-assessment of what virtues you may need to work on. And then after the test, there's a very important section on understanding the results. This is a key to interpretation. What do these results actually mean? And it's important after the test is taken to actually to go through this and read and understand what the results of the test actually mean. And then from the test, there's a selection of one particular virtue that will be the object then of the habituation phase, which is number 3, where participants will work on one particular virtue over a period of several weeks. And so that is then the habituation phase, number 3. And here there are again some theoretical instructions. What is habituation? There's some explanation of what it actually is. There's indications on how to make plans for habituation, so very practical instructions. And then an encouragement to just do it, and you will need to go in there and actually see what that is. It's very practical on how for several weeks you would go through and habituate in a particular virtue that you've chosen. And this is meant to last, again, several weeks, at least 10 weeks in this particular phase, to give time for habits to build and habits that will build character in the virtue that has been desired. And during those weeks, students can either be doing other activities, they can be doing further group work. Accountability is important during this particular phase, but in the study guide you will find different ideas of what to do during the habituation phase. And then finally there's a reflection, which is the final stage, and here there are simply consolidation of what has happened. There's a second test, so students will test again. After the habituation, they will take the virtue test again and see if their scores have improved in the particular virtue they've worked on. They will be led to compare the results. And then in 4.3, critically to write about their growth. So there's some instructions here on reflective writing, and as a very important consolidation phase in character and growth, actually write about what growth has happened. And then number 4, celebrate and plan what comes next. How can this be shared with other people, or how can another virtue perhaps be worked on in another phase? So that is this particular tool, virtueeducation.net. Hopefully it will be easy to navigate through to find information. It is meant to be self-explanatory, so this little video is just an introduction to it, and I encourage you to go through the phases, explore them for yourself, and consider using them in the groups with which you are working.